You came alive.
Huh?
And Jesus hugged her and held her and talked to her and told her that she was never alone. He's always been there. And she was so worthy of love. And she still says, even on the phone today when I asked her about this, she said it's the most loved she's ever felt in her entire life. She's never felt a hug or being held so strongly ever since.
Oh my God.
She says that she tries to remember the feeling all the time. She remembers the joy and she says the joy, the content, the love. I still think about it at night and I'm convinced God was speaking to me. But, and she was like, she said, even though I was crying my eyes out and everyone else was having a really happy experience, I'm the only one that got hugged by Jesus. So there.
So there, Tony Robbins. That is a great story.
But so, and for those things to happen to someone who like still isn't like a devout anything, it's very interesting.
It's like affirming almost, like you don't need to know what you're doing.
She's like, he's got it. Someone's got it. So then my last story is the one that I have mentioned before, the DC sniper.
Right.
Which my mom was almost a victim of.
Hoping we'd get to this story.
Well, hope no more. So my mom was prefacing the whole DC sniper with like asking if I remember anything, because her memory of like when she realized that the DC sniper was a big deal and I had been hearing about it at school, I was 10.
Right.
She knew that it was a really serious thing when apparently the grocery store that we would always go to, one time we went after school and she told me that I had to lock all the doors when she got out of the car and I had to hide under the glove compartment. And she remembers me asking to borrow her cell phone so I could call the police in case I saw her get shot. Which I don't remember, but I do remember that time. I remember like I remember my friend Cole. I was with him one night and I remember his mom like told all of us in the car, like, we have to run into the store, but when we get out, just run and don't look back.
Great. Oh my God.
And so like, I remember little things like that, but I didn't remember
being in Ohio and being scared and like, I was not even in the vicinity. So I can't imagine.
And I remember that whole year they had like black paper up on all the windows in the schools.
Fuck's sake.
And like all of our PE classes had to be done in our actual classroom. So I remember that whole year we just did jumping jacks like by our desks, like just so we would have PE, but we weren't allowed to leave. And then we had a lot of our teachers were ex-military.
Right.
And so usually we would go outside and do carpool at the end of every day. We were all in our rooms and like military teacher by military teacher would like,
this is terrifying,
be a wall and like have us like run to the cars. And do you remember anything, Eva? Because you were in Virginia too.
You know, I was just thinking, I do remember it, and I just think we were so...
Sorry, someone yelled at us for not having a microphone for you.
I definitely remember that time frame, and I think we were not that we weren't worried about it, but that we were so far out in the country that we had less fear. I think
it was less like direct.
Yeah, because we had. I mean, the places we went were like such small like country stores too. That a lot of the times too. I mean, we definitely had big parking lots and things like that too, but most of the time we were going to like on dirt roads still stores. So I don't think we had that like same direct. But I definitely remember watching what was happening and being like, oh my God, this is so close.
I feel like, yeah, and being that age of like, you're like learning about, oh shit, really
it's like,
terrible
death
shit
exists and
terrible
this is how
shit happens to people who don't deserve it. Yeah.
Right. And so I remember that. And it was also, Fredericksburg was a specifically scary area because we are right between DC and Richmond. So we're usually like a hot spot. Like we're right off the highway.
Right.
So usually if things are happening in DC, if they're going to happen in Richmond, they happen in Fredericksburg first. Like
it's like a trans.
Yeah. It's like a lot of like a lot of drugs come through Fredericksburg to go between the two cities and stuff like that. So, and sex trafficking is a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were right next to the highway. So that was just something that people were really concerned about. But all that being said, my mom's story with it is that...
Oh, right. I'm like already scared. I'm like, we haven't even talked about Linda yet.
So there was my mom, her territory. She's a financial advisor. I'm not going to say where, but that's her job, where she covers a lot of territory and travels a whole lot. And she travels specifically in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, which is exactly where this guy was. It was also his territory, apparently. And so my mom's situation with it was that she dropped me off at school one morning, and right across the street, like maybe not like 2 streets down across the street, like still within like basically view of the school, there is a gas station, and there were 2 cars in front of her. It was like obviously morning rush, so people were waiting their turn to get into for the gas. My mother, because she was Linda, was in a hot pink pantsuit.
Linda! I like how we've gotten like little snippets of like she's wearing hot pants, like she's wearing super short shorts, she's wearing a red coat, she's wearing
she like literally just had like the dispatch do like a tequila shut off of her the night before at a police party. I mean, like,
and I imagine what was a crop top. I mean, I just like
everything she did was just like growing into another twinkle of what would become this podcast. Like she just had a child to report all of this to everyone else.
She was like molding us before we ever knew.
Yeah, she had no idea, but also she was forming a child with quite a past.
Fair point.
So she was waiting in line to get her gas at the gas station, obviously, not the grocery store.
Thank you.
And she was checking her voicemail, and she got a call from one of her clients. I'm just going to say his first name was Bobby. And usually Bobby was a like really chill, nice guy, but on this particular day, even though it never happens, he was pissed off. And so my mom was really paranoid and was like, oh, I need to call him. Like, I'll just get gas later. Like, I can't handle this. I got to go. And so she was like, maybe she was late for the meeting or something like that. But she frantically was just like compelled, like, oh, I can't handle this. I need to get on the phone with him and get to work.
Priorities.
So she was the next in line for the car, for the gas. She was just waiting for that last car to fill up. Even though that car was done with their gas, she backed out and she pulled over. So she was still on the parking lot, but she like pulled over by the corner where she could like check her phone for Bobby's number.
Right.
And so she was still on the lot and saw what happened. And basically, as she backed away, another car came onto the lot and pulled in to the gas,
like where she was before,
to the pump where she was going to be at.
Right.
Because now that previous guy had driven off, it was now available because she backed away.
Yeah.
So someone took her place and got out of his car and went to pump tank, and that was the guy that got shot. And
holy fuck.
And her reasoning for why like it was going to be hers, because she was in a hot pink pantsuit, and she was like, that's an easy target. And she was like, this guy was setting up to be able to shoot me. I got away, like I drove away 5 feet, and then this guy came in, and his gun was probably already set up. Yeah. So he just
wait. So it happened while she was there?
Yeah. So she saw it happen.
Holy fuck!
Because she only backed away and then pulled over, and then this guy just got out of his car
moments later.
Yeah. And so it would have been her.
What was that like? Like, did she have to stay there too? And
yeah. Like, so she had to.
That's horrifying, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even know what it would. My mom's like, she's a very emotional person in some ways, and then like I guess when things are like too hard to handle, she just like doesn't think about them. Mm-hmm. She like compartmentalizes too well.
I think my mom's similar.
And so I feel like I could have asked her like, what did it feel like to know that that could have been you? And I think she just doesn't let herself think about it.
Yeah.
So, so the guy took her spot. He got shot. And then the thing that she actually remembers the most is as soon as it happened, she already had her phone out because she was about to call someone. She called my school to be like, hey, someone literally just got killed from the sniper, like two blocks away from the school. And they said, oh yeah, we already know we're in lockdown. And she's like, how do you fucking know? I literally just watched the guy die. Like, there's no better source than me. How is the school already under lockdown? So that was like, that's her biggest memory of it, is just like impressed that the school was on top of shit.
Yeah, seriously.
So she basically had to wait as a witness, and every witness had to stand at least 10 feet away from each other in different circles because they didn't want anyone's stories crossing.
Oh.
So she actually is one of the only people who ever saw the actual car, because at that point in the DC Sniper timeline, they were still looking for an unmarked van, like a white van.
Oh.
And she's one of the only people who ever saw the cranberry car with old-fashioned handlights.
Holy shit.
And she was actually on the original witness list, but she never got called.
Fuck, dude.
Probably because my mom has like no vision left. Like, she's like got really fucked up eyes. And so they probably like just realized that her vision was not well, and so like her testimony probably wasn't great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so she's one of the only people who remembers the car, and she remembers because she used to one of the companies she invested in was like a company that leased out trucks and ships and things like that. And so a lot of their cars would always be parked out front, right in that area.
Yeah.
And so she always drove by and just saw what cars were sitting out there. And that car had never been there before. And she was like, that car doesn't
stood
fit
out. Yeah.
It doesn't fit in with the rest.
Yeah.
And so I don't think she actually said anything to the cops. I think she just kind of felt like, oh, they must have put a new car on the lot. Wow. But she's one of the only people who remembers seeing the actual car.
Holy shit, dude.
So all of that is why my mom drinks.
And why I drink now.
And why Eva drinks.
Oh my God. Those are great stories, though.
Yes. I'm sorry it went long.
No, it's good. It was like a variety, too. I feel like you really like spiced it up.
Listen, happy Halloween.
I mean, it was very scary.
Yes,
All of it
yes.
was very scary.
One of the most important things we do for our health every day is brushing our teeth. Well, hopefully you guys do that.
Please.
Yet, most of us don't do it properly.
Quip is a better electric toothbrush created by dentists and designers.
And it's designed to make brushing your teeth more simple, affordable, and even enjoyable.
So basically, Quip has these sensitive sonic vibrations that are good for your gums because a lot of times people brush too hard and the electric toothbrushes are too abrasive, which I can attest to when your gums bleed and stuff. Not good.
Yeah, my gums bleed a lot, so I usually have to go with like softer toothbrushes, and this is definitely gentle for even the most sensitive gums like mine.
Quip has built-in 2-minute timer that pulses every 30 seconds to remind you when to switch sides, which is really cool and really helpful. And it helps you get a full and even clean because up to 90% of us don't brush for a full 2 minutes or don't evenly brush all sides of our teeth.
And there's a multi-use cover that mounts to your mirror and unmounts to slide over your bristles for the on-the-go brushing.
The best part is brush heads are automatically delivered on a dentist-recommended schedule every 3 months for only $5.
3 out of 4 of us use bristles that are old, worn out, and ineffective. So this is just like, I don't know.
You don't need to do
just
anything.
the best
They
thing
just
ever.
send it right to you.
Quip is one of the first electric toothbrushes accepted by the American Dental Association and has thousands of verified 5-star reviews.
So we love Quip for our sensitive gums and also to be able to stick them on the mirror, which I think is very cool.
I like sticking things on mirrors.
Me too. It cleans your counter.
So Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/ATWWD right now, you're going to get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush.
That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/ATWWD. Everybody knows that person who hypes up their bottles of wine. They're like, oh, this is the best, most, organic from France. You know that person. They get you excited with the fancy French name, told you. But when you actually try it, you want to say, you paid what for that? And you don't want to say it. I mean, I do say it. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Right, of course. Friends don't let friends go broke on overpriced wine, Christine. That's why I always support you with the box.
Thank you.
However, with First Leaf, there's a better way to discover the wines you like most.
That's right. First Leaf has created a club experience customized to you down to an individual level.
By rating the wines you receive, First Leaf determines your likes and dislikes, and using a custom algorithm and wine concierge team, only send wines that you'll love.
So you can talk to that French person and be like, look, I got my own wine concierge. Thank you very much. So I got started with First Leaf by answering 3 quick questions about my wine drinking preferences. And then First Leaf created an introductory 3-pack of wines based on my flavor profile. I have one of those.
Well, we know that.
Best part was I got all 3 for just $5 each. And the wines usually go for like $20 a piece. When the bottles arrived, I tasted, then rated them online. Then First Leaf took those ratings and selected new wines for my next shipment.
And shipments only get better with the more wines that you rate.
That's right.
So try First Leaf Wine Club today, where buying great wine is simple. Sign up with our personal link and you'll get an exclusive intro offer. It's 3 bottles of wine for only $15 plus free shipping.
That's not all. If you rate these 3 wines, you'll get an extra $10 off your next box.
Just go to tryfirstleaf.com/drink.
That's tryfirstleaf.com/drink. Okay, we're back. I will say real quick that it's really hard to pee in this onesie.
I
And
imagine.
do anything,
And
apparently.
hold anything.
And hold an object. Thank you, Eva. I went and got these. So Blaze's dad and mom threw this like beautiful rehearsal dinner, and they got us these as like kind of a joke, like a kitschy. They got us. They had a table full of these like Tervis tumbler wine glasses. They're super cute. They're like, it's for Christine's love of wine. And then they had Blaze's favorite gummies in them, and everything was going super great until my stepmother decided to give a rehearsal dinner speech.
I didn't know if we were talking about this.
I just thought I'd throw it out there because we didn't mention in the beginning, and now that I have these glasses in front of me, it all came rushing back.
Okay. I was intentionally avoiding it in case you did not want to talk about it. But okay, let's go.
Listen, we're talking about like extra mother figures in our lives, and I feel like Ellen's
we're talking about scary things. It was
scary,
a little scary.
Very scary. So
everyone
first
was
of
a
all,
little scared.
She shows up. I mean, I know she doesn't listen to this far in, I don't think.
Okay, great.
She shows up with her dress completely unzipped and is like, she has a mink throw on, like a mink fur coat situation. She
Allison
walks
and I
in.
are the ones that zipped her up.
Oh, I know. So she walks in. She walks over to Alice and says, hello, and fucking rips her mink coat off and is like, am I zipped? And Allison was like, oh, no, you're not. And
all
like,
the way down to the booty.
to the bum. And then, so Allison zipped her up. We're at the rehearsal dinner. I haven't even told Eva this. So we have this, first of all, my mom shows up in this giant handbag with apparently 45 framed photos of me, just different ones that she gathered from the house.
Yes.
And she walked around her house with this giant purse and just like dumped photos of me in, and then went to Blaze's parents' rehearsal dinner that they had set up and put photos of me all over the room. Like
Without Blaze.
Not Blaze. Like me as a 5-year-old. Like,
just random household framed portraits of you.
Dusty framed photos of me all over the place. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's a sweet sentiment. She gives her like speech and it's written on a legal pad. She calls me her living doll.
Twice.
Which really made everyone a little uncomfortable.
Twice.
She'd never done that before.
The whole time, you tell your part first, and then I'll give like the audience opinion.
Don't you worry. So, I mean, and I saw everybody. I was like, and poor Blaze's parents have never met her before. And I'm like, oh, great. So she's giving this speech, calls me a living doll. I'm like, this is not a shocker to anybody. She's just weird. And then at the end of the speech, she gives a toast. And I'm like, okay, I wasn't terrible. And she had asked for a second glass of wine. And I'm like, that's weird. Because she has 2 glasses of wine. And I'm like, it's not that weird. But it's like, she's about to give her speech. And she's like, excuse me, waiter, I need another glass of wine. So she's like, 2 full glasses. I'm like, that's odd. So she's giving her speech. She says toast, cheers, whatever. Literally throws her head back and like faces this glass of wine.
Like Linda at a police party.
Yeah, picture it. Picture it. Fucking faces this bottle of wine, turns around and hurls the glass into the granite staircase behind her and just shatters everywhere. And the whole place just goes fucking quiet. You hear Renee go, ah, shit. And I was like, oh. And then of course I jump up and I go, I'll clean it. And everyone's like, Christine, sit down. And she says, I thought everyone would get more excited. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then the server comes over. First of all, she's a real bitch. And she walks over and she looks at me and she's like, I have never seen anything like this. And I was like, I didn't do it, lady. And she goes to my stepmother, like, what were you thinking? And my stepmom goes, oh, it's family tradition. And I was like, no, I don't know what family, but it's not ours. So anyway, it was quite an experience. I just wanted to throw that out there. Now you can tell your side.
My side is I had never met your stepmom, but I was prepared. I'd heard some stories where I was like, oh, she's a little different. That's fine. And so also I'm from like a wildly like dysfunctional family in many ways. And so I was like, this is nothing I've never seen before.
Sure.
And so I met her and I forgot about the mink part, but yeah, she was doing that. She had that. And then she asked us to zip her up. I made Allison zip her up. I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. I tried to help her with the pictures. She was very actively against me assisting her at all. She was like, this is my job. And I was like, okay, sure. You can. Okay.
This
it's
is
like,
your job that no one assigned.
Yeah. I was like, I don't have to help. That's fine. And so then I was sitting down at a table with all like Christine's like hometown friends and who I'd met at the bachelorette party. And I feel like I'd met Renee before. Mm-hmm. And I was with Lisa and Zandy and Allie. And so we were all together. And at first, like, we were all kind of laughing because we all thought, like, oh, she's, like...
being her quirky self.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any harm to it. And then, like, she called you a living doll. And in my head, I was like, oh, that's, like, definitely an inside joke, and I just don't get it. Later, I found out there was...
I mean, it is now. Now it is, but...
Which I am a part of.
Right.
But I just remember being like... This is just something I don't understand, but I'll chuckle along because like obviously someone gets it, but no one got it. Everyone was apparently laughing out of like.
It's just very strange. I was like, I've known you for 21 years, and like.
Well, my favorite part was she didn't know how to pronounce your name, and she was like, oh, I'm Christina's stepmother. Oh, but I don't. Is it Christine or Christina? And so she was saying it out loud to people. And I was like, listen, if you don't know by 20 years, this is not the moment.
Well, to be fair, my family all calls me Christina. And I think sometimes she's like, I don't know what to call you in front of other people. And I'm like, call me Christina. You literally, that's what you call me. Like that's.
Well, from the audience view, we were like, this is
I didn't even
the exact opposite reason. This is the exact opposite day to like in the middle of a speech to figure out what the name is. And then we were like, oh, that was kind of funny. The living doll thing. We were like, oh, that was kind of funny. And then she like did the cheers thing where like, because I don't drink, I got the best view of the whole house where like my head wasn't tilted back sipping in a cheers. I was watching her and she like literally faced this whole glass like you said. And then she actually like kind of charged at the...
Yeah, she took a running step, like a step.
And then she like threw with all her might and the whole thing shattered. And that was when all of us were like, oh, it's not funny anymore. We were like, oh no.
Do you know who the only other person who had a better view than you was? The videographer who I happened to hire. And I was thinking, why did I do that? There's no reason I hired a videographer. Like,
and you're like, oh yeah, there was a reason.
Like, I was like, there are a couple of speeches. Like, it was fine. You know, my dad, like, Blaze's dad said a really sweet speech, and it was like fine. And then the guy was like, well, I'm just gonna, because he's like, people don't like themselves being taped eating. And I was like, okay, fair. So we just kind of hung out. And I was like, damn, you know, like, there's no reason I paid extra for this. And then that happened, and his eyes just...
You're like, worth every penny.
His eyes literally lit up, and I was like, tell me. And he's like, don't worry. And then he played in slow-mo for me like 4 times, and he's like, I have a whole plan for this clip. And I was like, and he goes, wow. And he like stayed long because he's like, this is a riot. And he's like, I wish I could go to the wedding tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's actually kind of a nice compliment, I think. I don't know.
I mean, like, truly, if that's the worst thing that happened at your wedding, you had a great wedding.
Yeah. And I mean, right. And at least it's a story.
And then at the end, my favorite part was before she walked off, she went, tradition, and then just walked off.
She's like, oh, it's family tradition. And I'm like, who are you telling that to? Anyway.
But before, I know you're too humble to say anything, but Christine did a very nice thing at the rehearsal dinner where she had remembered at the cake tasting that Blaze had a very specific interest in an amaretto cake, right?
Yeah.
And that ended up not being their wedding cake flavor, but she remembered that Blaze just went fucking bananas for this cake. And so at the rehearsal dinner, Christine made an effort to already have an amaretto cake designed for Blaze and presented to his family at the rehearsal dinner.
It was Yankees.
And they all there was a baseball on top of it. And
we tried to eat it, by the way. It was styrofoam, so.
Oh, yikes.
Heads up, heads up.
But no, I know she won't actually say that on her own, but it was very cute and very well thought out.
Thank you. That's very kind. And thank you to Renee for going to the bakery and the hotel and screaming at everyone for me when things weren't quite going as planned. And they worked out great. So thank you guys. Oh, yeah, that was fun. I forgot about that. It was a little overshadowed by my stepmom, but what is it? That's my life. It's our lives. When you have an,
Right.
extra mother, sometimes things go their way.
I have an extra mother and 2 extra fathers if you're counting all the past ones.
Yeah.
So
I am.
It's fun.
I
Dysfunction is fun. That's why fun's in the word.
That's why Em and I have a podcast. Okay. Anyway, the end.
Moving
that was
on.
my Halloween story.
Oh,
It
yikes.
was
It was scary, yeah.
Okay, I actually do have a Halloween-y story for you guys today.
Okay. These cobwebs are going to be the end of us.
My laptop is wrapped in fake spider webs. Hold on for one moment. Okay. So, this is... Sorry, my wine is in the way.
It's okay. What isn't it?
Yeah, fair. So, this is a theme. I did something different, too, where I picked different stories and made a little montage.
Love it.
A little melee, if you will. This is a series of Ouija board related murders.
Yeah.
So there were a lot. And I was like, at first I was taking all of the stories down. And then it got so long that I was like, holy shit, I have to hand select stories because there were so many, which is deeply disturbing. But
yes,
let's begin. So these 2 stories I got from one of my favorite websites, mysteriousuniverse.org. Just a fun time. Weird shit on there. It's great. So this is an article by Brett Swanser, and I'm going to read 2 excerpts. I'm going to read them, but I'm going to relay 2
I hear you.
2 stories that he told in the article. Okay, so first story. On November 8th, 1933, a woman named Dorothea Irene Turley and her 15-year-old daughter, Maddie, who lived in Prescott, Arizona, decided to play with their Ouija board. Is it Ouija or Ouija?
I'm sure it's... I've been told that it's... I don't know how to say. I just say Ouija board, which
Ouija board. Yeah.
I'm sure is not accurate.
So, because isn't it we and ja, German and French? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say, but I don't remember words. I think there's some way that no one actually pronounces it that is the correct way to say it. I'd say Ouija board.
Well, then we're absolutely not going to say it that way.
Okay, great,
cool. So Dorothea was reportedly a regular user of her board and a firm believer in it. She consulted it for a wide variety of purposes in her life, including financial advice. She tried to find buried gold with it.
She's using it for all the right reasons.
All the right reasons. And so during the session with her daughter, at one point the planchette hovers over the board and spells out instructions for Maddie, the 15-year-old, to kill her father when he's finished milking the cows. So Dorothea is like, oh, well, you got to do it. And the daughter's like, no.
Clearly.
Obviously.
She was looking for a way out of that relationship, wasn't she?
Seriously.
She's like, well, the board says.
She's shoving the planchette, kill. And she's apparently, she said to her daughter, quote, the board could not be denied. So.
Oh, well, clearly.
How do you argue with that? I don't know. So the board actually reassured them that no one would find out about the
board was like, your mom's right. No one will find out.
Don't worry, I won't tell. I promise. Secret is safe with me. So the 2 even allegedly went as far as to contact the spirit with cards. They were like, well, maybe if we contact him with tarot cards. but the spirit confirmed that, yes, he wanted them to kill her father.
Got it.
So when Ernest Turley, the father, comes in from milking the cows, Maddie takes the shotgun and blasts her father 2 times in the back as he's doing chores. And he didn't die right away, which is just very upsetting. He died 2 weeks later at the hospital. And the mother and daughter pair were arrested for the crime. And Maddie claimed it was all an accident. She said she was walking around 30 feet behind her father when she tripped and the gun went off. But authorities were not even a little bit convinced because he had been shot in the same spot twice in the back.
Oh,
like
yikes.
very close range. So that did not fly with them. So Maddie finally buckled. She confessed that the board had ordered her to do it and that she could not resist its dark power. Dorothea was also arrested, and then it came out that she had actually wanted her husband dead because she was having an affair with another man.
There it is. So she did one out of that relationship.
Yeah, so you caught that real quick. And also, like, leave your fucking daughter out of it. What the hell?
I know. Just kill him yourself. No.
Well, but I mean, don't make your 15-year-old
I know.
do it. Like, truly. Like, well, the board made you do it, not me. Like, what? Anyway.
That's just extra manipulation on top of an already horrible situation.
Exactly. So in the end, Maddie, the 15-year-old, was sentenced to a state reformatory school for attempted murder. And
my goodness.
I know. And she was paroled. I mean, she did shoot him twice,
Okay,
you know.
fair,
but
fair.
yeah, received parole 3 years later. And Dorothea was convicted of assault with intent to commit murder. Yeah, she like even knew she wasn't going to get in trouble for murder because she made her daughter do it. It's so fucked up. With intent to commit murder, for which she got a 15-year to life sentence. But it was overturned a couple years later by the Arizona Supreme Court, and she was freed. End of story.
End of story.
Twisted. By the way, these are like some of the lighthearted ones. Like there's some in there where I was like, whoa. Like,
Really?
yeah, there's some where it got like real messed up, and then like racism came into play. Like just like really dark, deep topics where I was like, this has to be like its own episode. Okay, so fast forward to 2001. On the night of February 11th, 53-year-old Carol Sue Elvaker is using a Ouija board with her daughter, Tammy Roach, along with her 2 granddaughters, aged 15 and 11, at their home in Minco, Oklahoma. Carol Sue apparently receives a message from the board that her daughter, Tammy's husband, 34-year-old former mayor of Minco, Brian Roach, was corrupted by evil and had to die.
Oh, a lot of scorned women, it seems, so far.
It's like... these guys are minding their own business, you know? And then it's like, he's full of...
I hope Allison doesn't use a Ouija board.
He's full of evil.
Something.
Is this why you're always telling me not to?
I think so. I just don't want Allison near it at the same time as you.
M is corrupted by evil. The order was apparently so compelling that the woman fetched a knife, went to the room where Brian was napping, and stabbed him in the chest.
How compelling can you be when it takes like 10 seconds to do a letter by letter sentence?
Although, you know, when you do play Ouija board and it's like building up to a word and you're like, oh no, like it's spelling the word.
Thank God ours has never said kill.
It's like K.
Ours just literally spells gin.
Gin, yeah. It's like, I like dogs and
it's
gin.
Like, I have a dog named Gabe and I like gin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what else do you like? Whiskey.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Alcohol. Yeah, we get it. We get it. Sorry, I needed a sip. Oh, Eva, if you want some wine, feel free. Sorry. I brought this for you just in case. I'm such an ass. I like didn't even...
No, it's totally...
Actually, the lid is super cool because it has a little like...
Oh, an open close?
Yeah, it's like a nice little sippy cup.
Jesus.
Blaze's dad described them as almost turbis. Because
He
they're
did.
like off-brand.
Do you have any more of the blue ones?
No, these were actually the only ones left, and like I didn't get any, so we went like digging for some because I was like, I want one, and Blaze didn't get one either because like we were busy.
So fun.
I know, aren't they kind of cute?
Oh, sorry. Should I...
Oh yes, finish it, please. Don't worry, I brought another one.
It's come on, this isn't your first time here,
amateur
Eva.
hour. Also, I bought this because people remember I posted the bottle on Instagram or something, and everyone was like, "Have you tried the dark one?" And it looked kind of creepy, so I bought it.
Is it good?
I have no idea.
Oh,
We're gonna find it.
I like it. It's a lot more intense than this.
Oh, is it?
But it is good.
a lot more intense. What the hell does that mean?
You'll have to find it.
Like more bitter, more sweet?
It's just more like
like
I don't know,
a stronger flavor, maybe?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's it. I'm really not good at
A more robust.
Robust.
Yes!
There it is.
That's a great
I mean, I'm a connoisseur.
I know.
I'm Linda's child. I like know what's going on.
It's like in your bones, whether you like it or not.
Like just through osmosis, I kind of know what it tastes like. Like oaky.
You can just look at me and be like, not my thing.
Yeah.
Too oaky for me. Okay. So, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I had to get Eva some wine.
Wow.
Somehow I forgot to offer it.
Somehow it just slid right down my gullet.
Too busy drinking it to offer it to anyone else.
Okay, Eva, now you down that and then run over to a marble staircase and just shatter
This
the
is
shit.
why. Wait, it actually is really fortuitous that they brought plastic tumbler wine glasses.
They knew.
And my stepmom fucking smashed the restaurant's glass one. They were probably like, great, glad we equipped her with a
It's
plastic
like,
one.
should have given it to her 5 minutes earlier.
Oh, by the way, at the fucking wedding, we're getting served our dinner. My dad is giving a toast, and I just see this glass shatter on the ground, and I look up, and my stepmother is sitting there, and she goes, I just see her mouthing words because she's too far away, and I just see her go, it wasn't on purpose, I swear. And I'm like, how many fucking
Like,
glasses?
of course it was on purpose. It's family tradition, you
Yeah.
living doll.
Yeah, you living doll. You got to stick to your guns if you're going to say it's a tradition. Anyway, okay. So let's move on here. Okay, so she gets the knife, she stabs him in the chest, and the others just stand there and watch as he bleeds to death.
Oh, kind of like how people
Including-
just like watch glasses shatter. And
Yeah, and just quiet down and don't react.
Did like the killer then say tradition?
It's family tradition. You wouldn't understand.
Sorry, I don't want to overplay that. It was just a perfect timing. A perfect
I was going to
timed
make a joke about him not being a living doll anymore, but that's too much, I think, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, it makes you cringe, but it was also well wit.
Do you like when I say I was going to say a joke to like test it out without getting the brunt of like...
I mean, you'll probably just hear everyone else across America go, oh!
Anyway, Brian was no longer their living doll. He bled out, unfortunately, and passed away. But apparently Brian's death was not enough to satisfy Carol Sue's bloodlust.
Oh my
because
God.
then she decided to turn the knife on her own 10-year-old granddaughter. Frantically trying to kill the girl before Tammy, her daughter, managed to stop her and get the knife away.
Oh, no.
Then all of them, all four of them, so grandma, mom, and two kids, 15
Right.
and 10, get in the car and drive off. Tammy is hoping to help her mother like escape from the crime and is like, what the fuck are you doing, mom? Like,
Why would you get in a car with that woman?
I
I'd
know,
be
that's
like,
what I'm saying. She
let's
just
get in another
tried to
car.
attack your daughter, like your 10-year-old. Yeah.
Let's enclose ourselves at top speed.
So guess who's driving?
Grandma.
Yep. So grandma's driving and she intentionally plows into a signpost in an attempt to kill everyone in the car because now she's convinced that they all need to die. When that didn't work, Carol Sue, who had suffered 2 broken ankles in the crash, tried to shove her 15-year-old granddaughter into oncoming traffic.
Oh.
And that also didn't work, so she hobbled off with her broken ankles into the woods nearby, stripping all her clothes off as she went. Then law enforcement arrived, and they were like, what the fuck is going on? Like, nobody... This is literally the scene they walked onto.
Right.
And they were like,
it's family tradition.
yeah. Listen, grandma has her way, so it's fine. Okay, so she's caught. She's wandering through the woods naked, right? So she's caught, charged with first-degree murder in the death of her son-in-law, sentenced to time at a psychiatric hospital, and then Tammy was convicted of being an accessory to murder, but that was dropped later.
Okay.
And then in the aftermath, authorities looked into Carol Sue. She had no history of mental illness or strange behavior, no sign of drugs, no alcohol, no history of substance abuse. No sign of domestic problems. Like, none of them disagreed even or didn't get along with each other. It was otherwise a really happy household. And so there was literally no strange
just the
blip in
board
any of this
overcame
except the
them.
board. There was nothing weird in the... So they don't know what happened. They still don't know. It was never figured out what...
Almost like a possession.
What came over her. Yeah, but she's
Weird.
claimed basically from the beginning to the end that the board made her do it. Assistant District Attorney Brett Burns in the county would later say, quote, "It's amazing how the grandmother was able to let this Ouija board consume her life." So I think basically they just think she got so wrapped up in believing it that when it gave her this command, she just was like, well, this is what I have to do. And there's no other explanation. So that's the second story. Now we're going to take a little side road into a different territory of Ouija board murder.
Oh, okay.
Did you know there were
Detour.
so many sides of Ouija board murder? Because I did not.
I didn't either.
Yep. So we're traveling back to 1994.
Oh, good.
And at this point, Stephen Young, a 35-year-old insurance broker, was on trial, so the murder has already happened. He's on trial for the death of Harry and Nicola Fuller, who had been found dead on the floor of their home a year earlier. Nicola had been shot 3 times, and Harry was shot in the back at close range. So there's this brutal murder that this guy, Stephen Young, is on trial for. The jury hears the case, and then they go to the hotel where they're staying. And as the other jurors slept, 4 of the jurors grouped together around a homemade Ouija board that they had made from a piece of paper and a hotel room wine glass.
This is literally us on tour trying to like talk to ghosts.
Completely, it is. I was like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh, getting me tips.
Except a little more fucked up because they decided to try and contact the souls of the murdered victims.
Oh.
That had been, shot the year before.
Gotcha.
So one juror named Ray took charge of addressing the spirit, and it identified itself as Harry Fuller, the man who had been shot.
Mm-hmm.
Ray asked, "Who killed you?" And the glass spelled out, "Stephen Young done it."
Oh, specific.
Yeah, he said
Facebook. Let's
he
Facebook
said
him.
how. Well, the guy's on trial, Stephen Young.
Oh, and it's 94.
Well,
so I guess neither way it's gonna work.
Also that, but I mean, Stephen Young's literally the one that they're on trial. They're the jury for.
Yeah.
Right. So they said the glass said Stephen Young done it, and then Ray said how, and the glass spelled shot. So the jurors were like, "What do we do? What do we do?" And then the glass apparently spelled out, "Vote guilty tomorrow." So by the end of this seance, some of the jurors were crying. A few were like, "Shit, we like really went too far. This was inappropriate." And then what they ended up doing was going to their rooms and agreeing not to tell anybody else, including the other jurors, what they had done. But a few weeks later, a headline emerged in international papers across the world that read, "Murder Jury's Ouija Board Verdict." And people were fucking furious.
Yeah, because it just sounds like someone planted.
It's horrifying.
Just chose to tell everyone that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I would imagine, like, someone using a Ouija board, like, just spelt that out, just hoping other people would be freaked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were pissed, like, why are they using a Ouija? This isn't a joke. Like,
that's fair. But my first thought is, like, oh, it's a trap. I don't know.
I mean, the guy was guilty anyway. Like, I don't think there was really a question whether he had... Yeah. I mean, I don't know. People were just pissed because it's like, this was one of the most high-profile trials, like, in the
Ouija
world.
board's involved.
And then these jurors, like, make it kind of a tabloid headline. I don't know. So the case ended up being one of the most high-profile examples of juror misbehavior in the world. I read a really interesting bit about, like, juror misbehavior, which apparently is, like, very common. Like, one time they found out during a, like, high-profile trial, half the jurors were playing Sudoku. Like, they had all shared, like, their Sudoku book, and we're all, like, doing Sudoku while this guy was talking about, like, somebody's murder or something.
Jeez.
Like, people, I don't know, apparently shit goes down with these juries. And actually, this jury that used the Ouija board was already the second jury because the first set had been replaced because they had been played a tape of the emergency call that Nicola Fuller had made between being shot. Like, she got shot and then she called 911.
Yeah.
And they played that, like, tape, and it's, like, deeply gruesome and upsetting. And I guess the jury only lasted one day before one of them was like, "I can't do this anymore." So they already had to, like, basically retrial the whole thing.
Gotcha.
So the judge asked for an entire new jury after that. And the problem with juror misbehavior is apparently it's really harmful and costly, especially with, like, a high-profile traumatic case like this one, because you have to do a whole retrial. And so that puts everyone, including, like, the judge, the staff, the accused, witnesses, jurors, like, the families, through, like, they just have to start the entire process over again. So, like, it's expensive, and it's also, like, re-traumatizing everyone. So basically, they'd already replaced the whole jury and started over. And then, right as they're, like, finishing up the trial, they find out that these jurors are, like, fucking using Ouija boards and, like, trying to contact spirits and, whatever. So they had to start the whole thing over again for the third time, which was just really messy. And in the end, Stephen Young, either way, was given 2 life sentences for the murder of Harry and Nicola Fuller. Kind of upsetting, Nicola Fuller's father said, "The Ouija jurors made a complete joke of our daughter's death," which is just devastating. But one author actually speculated that the jurors weren't trying to play games. They were simply trying to find a way to cope with the gruesome ordeal they were being faced with. So who's to say what their, like, motivations were, but either way, like, they done fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, this one is a story I found a long time ago, and I had it bookmarked, and I was trying to find a way to tell the story, and it was too short to, like, use as an episode, and I thought this was the perfect way to do it. It is a story of a Ouija board being used to convict a murderer.
Yeah.
From atlasobscura.com.
My favorite. That's my favorite website.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And mine's Mysterious Universe. We just combined our faves. Okay. So this takes place in Greenbrier County, West Virginia in 1897. January 23rd, 1897, a man named Erasmus Trout Shoe, who worked at the local blacksmith shop, sent a boy from the shop to his home to check if his wife Zona needed anything from the store. So the boy runs on his errand to Erasmus's house, and when he gets there, he finds Erasmus's wife, Zona, dead on the floor of their home, and he's like, fuck. So he runs, I mean, maybe not, but...
Can you imagine a little boy? Fuck.
What do they say in 1897?
Oh.
You think of that while I drink my wine.
I have no idea what they would say back then. Probably something more godly.
I mean, to be honest, I just picture the word fuck, but like with those like gothic letters, you know, like old-timey, old
like
English.
SpongeBob starting his essay.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes.
Just F.
F. So the boy runs back to the blacksmith shop and is like,
fuck.
Your wife. Fuck. Your wife is dead. And okay, so this is where I was a little confused with the story because they changed Erasmus to Eddie. I don't know if that's like his nickname or what because they didn't specify, but I'm just going to call him Eddie because it's a lot easier than saying Erasmus's every 5 seconds. So I assume that's his nickname. So a doctor is notified. Eddie grabs his wife's body, carries her upstairs to their bed, like holds on to her, is like grieving, never leaves her side. The doctor doesn't have time to do a full autopsy for whatever God knows what reason. So he does a hasty autopsy, which hasty and autopsy are not two words I imagine should go together.
If I were to ever have an autopsy done on myself, I would hope the exact opposite of it.
The exact
I do not want it
opposite
to be hasty.
of hasty. A very unhasty autopsy, if you
Yes.
will. Right. So they do a hasty autopsy and they determine, now get this,
I
they
can't wait.
determine Zona's cause of death to be, quote, everlasting faint.
Everlasting faint.
It just
Like just fallen over and can't get up.
it's just that bullshit of like, oh, women are just hysterical, and she just was so hysterical she died.
Well, sometimes people think that's going to happen.
That will maybe be my obituary, but doesn't matter. This isn't about me.
Sometimes I feel so hysterical I'm going to die. It's okay.
So, everlasting faint.
Now I know what to call it next time it happens to me.
Right. Everlasting.
I'm sorry. I'm suffering from everlasting faint right now, guys. It's gonna be wild.
I actually really appreciate it if you were a little more conscientious and aware of like disease I'm going through.
Oh, of
my condition. Yeah.
Of what? Faint? Something faint?
Everlasting faint.
Everlasting
Yeah.
faint.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to be more on
Listen,
top
I'll
of
try
that.
to educate you, but like it's really not my job.
There's only so much we can do at this
Yeah.
point.
So
If I don't know it by now, I just probably don't want to know it.
like
so.
maybe. So Zona's body is transferred to her parents' home about 5 miles away. Eddie has dressed her in what he said was her favorite dress, beautiful high neckline gown, and he complimented this gown with her favorite scarf.
Wow, fashionista. Wow.
I was like, well, this is a very specific detail. During the entire viewing before her burial, Eddie held his wife's head, sobbing. Zona's mother, Mary, is like, something is fucking going on with Eddie. He's being a bit weird. Turns out she never trusted him, didn't even like that they were getting married, like from the beginning was not on board with their relationship, but there's nothing she could do. Zona was buried, and Zona's mother, Mary, basically after the funeral, prayed night after night, begging the spirit of her daughter, Zona, to cross back over and speak to her, because she was like, I have unanswered questions. I need you to appear to me and tell me what really happened. So she just knew Eddie had something to do with Zona's death. She could feel it. And she had no way of proving it. So finally, after nights of kneeling and praying, Zona appeared to her. She said, Eddie did this. He crushed my neck. He squeezed a life from me. And then this haunting went on for many nights. She appeared to her mother every single night. And finally, Mary notified the authorities. And she was apparently so, convincing that they actually agreed to exhume the body and do a full autopsy on the corpse. So the local school, unhasty this one time, unhasty autopsy. The local schoolhouse, this is just like a detail that kind of cracks me up and disturbs me. The local schoolhouse was emptied of children so that they could perform the autopsy.
All right, kids, clear out.
Inside. You're doing PE outside today.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of your sniper story. It's like the opposite. The local schoolhouse was emptied. Zona's body was carried in. And the entire time Eddie's screaming, you'll never prove I did it. And Mary's just like, did what? Because no one has fucking accused him of anything.
Right.
He's just like, you'll never prove I did it.
Right. He's already speaking for himself before anyone's questioned him.
Defending himself. And she's like, did what? So when they performed the autopsy, it was confirmed that Zona's neck had indeed been broken. Her throat and her windpipe had been crushed, which now it makes sense why he put her in that high neck collar and was holding onto her head and sobbing and wouldn't let anyone near him and
around her neck.
Yeah, around her neck or her head. So they found out her windpipe had been crushed and her throat had been crushed. So when the case went to trial, the defense brought up Zona's like ghost sighting and was trying to make her seem insane by being like, listen, you can't trust this lady's testimony. She sees ghosts, or she thinks she sees ghosts. But the jury was so convinced by the story that like it swayed them to believe her, because they were like, this sounds very convincing that she saw this ghost, which after this Ouija board story, I'm like, I mean, to be honest, it seems like they're very paranormally inclined. They believed her story, and Erasmus was sentenced to life in prison, where he died only 3 years later. Mary never saw her daughter Zona's ghost again, and nobody else had ever reported seeing her spirit. But her body was once again buried, and Zona is now known as the Greenbrier Ghost, and her story is the only known case in which the testimony of a ghost helped to convict a murderer.
That's so much more information than when I told the story. That was like...
You told this story?
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
No, but I told like...
Shit, I don't remember that.
No, probably because my information was so shitty compared to that. You like, I didn't know any of that.
Which episode? Was it a whole episode?
It was an episode where I told like multiple Ouija board stories.
Oh,
or something. I don't remember. It was a while ago, but I remember Zona, and I remember it was like...
Oh, my bad. I literally just was so tunnel vision because I was like, this story's been in my bookmarks for 2 years.
I remember, though, you saying when I told the story, you're like, I've had that bookmark, but I didn't know how. But no, it's fine, because like the information I got was such shit compared to that.
At the beginning, you were like, yeah. And I was like, uh-oh, Em knows the story. Not only did you know it, apparently.
That's why I was like, oh, yeah. Like, because I was like, yeah, it helped convict a murder.
My bad.
No. But like, I didn't know anyone's name. The only thing I knew was that a woman found out about her daughter's murder, and then they exhumed the body and like it confirmed. Yeah. But I didn't know anyone's names.
I do vaguely remember that.
I didn't know the neck thing, like wearing a high collar or her hugging her. I didn't know any of that. So
phew. I live in.
We did a revisitation.
It's amazing that we do completely different topics and somehow we still cross like.
It's like it's meant to be.
It's like us. It's fate. Fated to be together. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those are my Ouija board murder stories for the week. Happy Halloween 1.0.
1.0.
So. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have a couple things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. We have something to say. Who would have thought?
First, we recently, and by recently we mean last week, and it's already out, we did an crossover episode with Is This Adulting?
Yes. Mental health comedy podcast. Our friends, Stephen and Chris.
We have both individually been on that show, but this was our first time together for their Halloween episode. So we talked about a whole lot of things. We talked about different favorite candies, favorite movies. We talked about weird Halloween costumes we had. One of the ones that made an appearance was when I dressed as white trash one year, and I went in a white garbage can, and my mom literally glued garbage on me. So, if you want to enjoy that
story just barely missed the cut for the Linda's traumatizing experience.
Oh, one day I'll just do a whole episode. Maybe for Mother's Day, I'll just nothing paranormal. I'll just tell you all about how my mother raised me and how I came to be.
Oh, me too. And then
that's a scary
really
story all on its own.
Show.
But yeah, if you wanna hop on over to Is This Adulting, they're really great. We really like them.
It was so fun, and I felt really honored because they were like, well, we were doing our Halloween episode, planning it, and we thought, oh, well, they have to be on. And I was like, that's such an honor that someone thought we were the Halloween.
Steven on the show is also one of the many people who have sent Christine a DVD copy of Hocus Pocus.
Correct, and I had already watched it by the time it came up in the show, so you hear me lying through my teeth saying, I'm never going to watch that, and I'd already watched it.
Oh, yeah. You're a sneaky snake.
The blood drained out of my face when he's like, well, what about Hocus Pocus? And I was like, fuck, I was hoping this wouldn't come up. But,
well, in my individual episode with them, I talked about 90s kids' toys that I was still nostalgic about. And I talked about a Game Boy Color in that purple see-through skeleton color.
Yeah.
And I always wanted it, and my mom would never let me have it because she said it was a boy color. Haha, Mom, ironic.
Look what you did, Linda.
And so his wife actually had one. They mailed it to me in one of our fan mail videos. So
sweet.
They're very good people. So please go support them.
Super fun.
Next thing is we have a Facebook Live literally right now at 3:00. So please go to that.
So I think
hopefully people will come.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this,
listen, I heard
right away.
I saw Eva RSVP'd, so you better be there because it's gonna be a fucking rager.
So
it's no police party.
3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and because we're usually so not prepared, I will make sure that we are prepared this time around. And our Facebook Live on November.
Em has a planner on the table.
Yeah, I have a planner now, which means we're actually going to be so much better about dates. November's Facebook Live is going to be on the 18th.
Cool.
So November 18th at 3 p.m.
Sweet.
PST.
Did we already plan this?
Yes.
Great.
It was when I frantically called you about the rest of the year.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no.
Good times.
Another thing,
Is this the most important news? No, not yet.
no, the most important news is happening now.
Oh, good. Cool.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm ready for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know about these little bucket things, but Eva, I got you a present.
Oh, that news. Okay, I have other news.
Okay.
Also about Eva.
I mean, Christina and I both got this for you, but it's in my backpack, so I'm going to claim territory. So, well, because usually on...
Sorry, I thought we were approaching a different topic, so this is probably really weird and awkward.
No,
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay, good.
So usually for Halloween, obviously I would get Christina a present, but she's gotten enough, so I'm getting you one. So I don't know if you remember these.
Yes, 100%. Like this image is like
It's terrifying.
So I got...
We want to traumatize you.
It's the trilogy of scary stories to read in the dark. It was that like series of books that like all of us when we were younger read with the creepy black and white skull on the front.
Do you think that bowling story's in there?
Maybe.
It's very scary.
But those were my favorite books. And I
Yeah.
remember in my school, there was only like one copy of each book and kids would fight tooth and nail to like get it out of the library and you never could.
you couldn't like renew it because it was too popular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that we're giving you that is because we know you like books and we know you like
I messed
books.
it up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know what you're missing.
Nothing. Okay.
Christine, just drink your wine.
I'll be quiet.
We're giving you those books because Eva actually has her own podcast where she covers a whole other series of books.
That was the big news. I was like, we have big news. But then I forgot that you said we were going to relay from that into the segue.
A Segu. Whatever.
Yes.
I mean, what isn't a train wreck in our lives? But
Eva, the only thing.
but no, Eva has her own podcast called Paranormal Captivity.
Yes, you heard that right. Paranormal Captivity.
And her and her sister cover the Cat Who series by Lillian Jackson Braun.
You know, that one.
It's and apparently there's more series that will be covered eventually, correct?
Yeah.
Do you want to do your own little promo?
Please do, please. I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
Thank
but
you guys. First of all, I am gonna read all of these and listen.
Please
listen
do.
to all of these, and I'm so excited
They're
about
probably
it.
in font 20, so I think you can probably get through it pretty fast.
Oh, I'm so excited. Julie and I are so excited. My sister and I, my mom had read these when we were kids, and we always kind of made fun of them. And then we started reading them, and we're like, wait, these are hilarious and great. So we usually drink together, and it's kind of like a little book club we have together.
it's super cool and super funny and super cute.
And we've obviously the drinking part is carried over very well into that, I'm sure.
Obviously, I've just seeped my...
Also, personally, the theme song kills me.
It is great.
It's such a good theme song, but if you guys go listen to it, can they find it anywhere?
Yeah, it's on almost all of them now, I think.
Okay.
I saw it on iTunes earlier. So Paranormal Captivity.
Yes.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, and your sister made the icon, right?
The logo, yeah.
She drew the little cat with the book, and then I got drunk and learned, in quotes, Photoshop to do the border.
Skillshare, promo code drink.
All right, so if you support us, then you support Eva. And also go follow her on social media. It's Gross with 3 S's.
Correct.
Thanks, guys.
Oh my God, no, this is so fun. I love this little like...
You pour Christine a lot of wine. We ought to do something for you. So,
all right, that's it, folks. I think that's all we have, huh?
yeah,
Happy Halloween 1.0.
1.0.
We don't do anything just one time. We need to do them multiples.
Right.
So we'll see you
True.
for the next one.
And
That's
why
we
drink.
Do we do anything before these?
Before the listeners episode?
Yeah. Welcome.
To the listeners episode.
You're here today.
That's what we do.
Yesterday was Halloween.
Yesterday was Halloween?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it comes out on the 1st. You're right.
Yep. How are you?
Um,
I was talking to you. I was talking to everybody who's listening.
Oh, I'll wait for everyone to answer then. Good. So,
And how are you, Em?
I'm fine. I have yet to experience Halloween yet, so I'm not too sure how it's gonna go. But
It's gonna go.
well, actually, right now, if it's the 1st, that means I'm currently on a flight back home to Virginia,
That's right.
and I won't see you again until our live show in
Guess
DC.
what? We're prepping for DC. Also, real quick before we get started on our stories, your stories. Classic Kevin is back with us, just like right out of the gate, doing some stories on our Patreon. So if you are a donor of any number, you will be able to access those, and we're going to post those on the 1st. So
Yes.
enjoy.
Okay.
He's very excited, and Eva handpicked some stories for him and for us.
And I do want to say, because we didn't say it in the last episode, currently, as far as we know, there are still openings for the following shows for you to buy tickets for.
And by openings
As in, like, if you want to audition to be on the stage with us.
we have opening acts.
No, we still have tickets available for a couple different shows, so I'm just going to read them out. The Wilbur in Boston on February 2nd. I should have done this in order. I never do it in order. Let's try again. St. Louis, we have tickets for January 20th. In San Diego, we have tickets for January 21st. In Asbury Park in New Jersey, we've got tickets for January 30th.
And by the way, it's a really cool venue. It's like Bruce Springsteen's venue. So like, go check it out.
So please come. Please come. Then we also have the Wilbur, like I said, in Boston on February 2nd. We have Orlando in March on the 15th, and we have Tampa in March the day after on the 16th. All those tickets, there are still tickets for all those shows.
Go to andthat'swhatyoudrink.com/live, and that you'll be able to click any of the links.
Yes.
Yay.
All right, so I'm going to go first. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
Halloween listeners episode.
Fucking stoked, bro.
All right, homie. Home slice.
Let's go, my man.
Oh my.
I know.
You're still in your sex kitten outfit.
I went too far. Yeah, and it's really hot in here.
Do you want to strip a little? That's okay. I was thinking... I didn't mean it in the way that it came off. I meant more like you want to unzip and tie the arms around your waist.
I saw the face shift from like innocent question to like, I'm so disgusted with myself.
I really hated who I was.
It was
I didn't mean it that way. You know what? Just stay clothed.
Slow-mo moment.
Actually, I just hope you just stay gross in that. So
you are so evil.
I just don't know what makes anything I say right anymore. Here is our first email. This is called a Bloody Mary follow-up, Brazilian version.
Hells yeah.
And this is from Livia. So it starts with, "What's up, Eva?" Hurtful. I'm fine.
No, listen, I think Eva just went in and typed that and replaced her
Eva.
names. Eva, silly Eva.
You just wanted your name on
silly
in the show.
Girl.
So it then says, "I love you, Eva." What? No, I'm kidding.
You're so beautiful. Hold on. Why don't you strip for me? Oh, wait.
Oh my, Livia.
That's what,
Livia.
Listen, I'm just quoting you, Em, to be honest.
Look, I'm not proud of who I am either. Livia then says, "I'm a big fan of the podcast, and today when I was listening to the latest episode, Em discussed Bloody Mary, and I decided to write in for the first time. I'm glad I did that for you, Livia. Here's the dealio. I'm Brazilian, although I've lived in the U.S. for 2 years now, and the story was a little different there, so I thought I'd tell you about it.
Ooh, I didn't know there was a Brazilian version.
The first time I heard it, I was in 2nd grade, the prime age for fear.
It is. Great time.
I was just coming out of the school's bathroom, and I happened to stumble upon a group of girls in my grade who were sitting on the floor in a very cult-like circle. Oh, were me and Christine there?
Yes.
Intrigued, I asked them...
Reading Banicula. Yes. Sorry.
Intrigued, I asked them to explain why they all looked so terrified. So from then on, I was made aware of Bloody Mary, or as she is known in Brazil, the...
Tell me you gave Em Portuguese to say out loud.
Well, she also gave me the English version, which was very nice for her.
Oh, good.
And the English version is the blonde of the bathroom.
Ooh.
Which...
Megan. For sure, Megan. There's literally no other blonde.
I didn't know the game in Brazil was called Megan.
Megan.
And that's Megan talking to herself.
In the mirror, obviously.
I'm not sure what her story was because I've heard many different ones over the course of elementary school. But one of the most common ones was that she was a woman who was hated by many. Megan, sounds about right.
I'm just really falling into place here.
And one day, someone slammed her head onto the sink and she died.
Oh, okay, too far.
Megan didn't deserve that.
No, I didn't say
that.
that.
Just a smack or two was all she needed.
Just a little hair pull.